All right, so I'm about to demonstrate the advanced assignment for this week's lesson. This is the food journal assignment. And also notice I got my henna done. I got some henna done this week. Isn't that pretty for Diwali? Okay. I've taken a photo of these beautiful strawberries. I have them here. And this is my small little paper. Now the assignment can be done on individual sheets of paper, or it can be done in your sketchbook. But this is a one and done assignment that you do as many of these as you can and you finish them. And then you move on the next day to paint another item, your small bowl of mint chip ice cream, maybe, and make sure that, and you're also considering how to position yourself to take, and you can absolutely paint this from life. Okay, I can't do this from life for this demonstration because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing and how it's going to turn out. But I encourage you to actually draw from life if that's possible. Okay, so my plan for this is I'm going to use pencil to draw it. Got my eraser. I'm going to use a black ink pen because I want to be a little bit of expressive in it. And I also am going to play around. I'm going to use a watercolor, and I'm also going to play around with these water soluble crayons. I haven't used these in a while, so we'll see how that works. Okay. So I talked about drawing the ellipse before. I didn't really talk about it, but there is a page in the Canvas assignment for that. And I guess I'm going to do that right now. But before I do that, this is not taped down, but this is also gummed on the top and the bottom. So I know it's not going to buckle because of the way it is. But I do want to be mindful of my edges. I don't want to get too close. So I'm just going to give myself these little, you can't even see it really, but I'm going to give myself these little indentations here. Okay. Now I'm going to give myself kind of an envelope of how big this will be. I don't want the bowl to take up more space than this. I want it to be roughly fit into this space. So this is the envelope of space that I'm creating. And I'm doing this so that I don't start off by just drawing a strawberry and then my bowl gets so big that it comes off the page. I want to make sure that my bowl fits in here. And I'm going to just adjust, see if I can adjust the brightness on here. I don't know if that's going to work. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So I'm looking at the lip of this bowl is really close to the bottom. And it's symmetrical. So because I've done this box, I can kind of look at the negative space of this shape here and make sure that I'm making that the same negative space over here. This kind of curved triangle. And this might not be quite right, but. Okay, is out there. All right, so I don't know, maybe a little bit higher. So I'm breaking my boundary a little bit, but that's okay. And all right. Let's erase it. This is a little bit bigger. Okay, let's see. The lip, probably right about there, but then I have to make, ooh, I think this is actually gonna curve more at the top. This, and the ellipses are really hard to do. And what I could actually do is, what I described in the demonstration on the pages was to draw a center line. And then I got to figure out where the corner of this bowl is. And it's actually like, not the corner, but the widest point is probably right about here, which is like where I have it, right? This is the widest point. So that's where I would draw this horizontal line through. And now I want to make sure that, I guess I want to try and, well, it might be, I think it actually might be a little bit higher. Yeah, that's more like it. Okay, so now basically these two have to be the same as these two. It's like a quadrant. So this is symmetrical with this, and these need to be symmetrical with these. I'm going to try anyway. Okay, that looks all right. Looks okay. Okay, now I'm going to
Eraser?
Yes.
The eraser, can you share what type is it?
This is just a click eraser. I got this from Daiso. It's just one of these erasers that you click like this. Yeah, you don't need it. You just need a regular eraser like this, or a kneaded eraser.
Better than the kneaded eraser.
Yeah, the kneaded eraser is great, but I don't have that sitting on my desktop right now, and I'm not going to go run and get it. So I'm just going to use this one here.
Thank you.
Mhm. I'll make this a little bit smaller. Now, this is a study. This is a one and done. So if I were to say this is a study, then what would my intention be, right? It's not to make up necessarily a beautiful painting, but what I want to do is I want to learn something from this. What I want to learn is the challenge of creating the highlights on a strawberry, where the light is hitting the form, but then is also has these indentions of seeds, right? This whole area right here, I have to be mindful of all of these areas as I'm painting. The lightest area is like, some of it's white, and I actually have a white gel pen. So I could come back and feasibly use the white gel pen in some of these areas that are really white. But what I want to notice is like, what is happening within the strawberry that's going to make this thing look like a strawberry and not a cherry tomato, right? So we know it's the seeds, the little yellow seeds in there, right? When we talk about painting in watercolor and starting off with the wash and having to ask yourself those questions that I gave you before. One of the first questions was what was it? Like, what is the overall, like, what's the overall color? Like, what can I get away with in terms of my first layer of wash in any of this, right? So before I even paint the red on the strawberry, I want to think about what wash I could do to lay in if I can lay in a wash at all, right? Here's something I'm going to do actually too, is there's a lip. There's a thickness on this lip of this bowl, and I didn't capture that. So I want to make sure that I capture that. And I'm actually going to see if I can. No, that's too dark. Okay. But I want to just light this from the other side so I'm not creating a cast shadow. I'm actually going to turn it this way to see if I'm getting the symmetry right. So just by changing the perspective that I'm looking at this, I can judge whether or not my ellipse is symmetrical because I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Okay. I'm going to use this eraser. You know, we still have to go over your work, but I want to do this demonstration first, and then we'll go over discussions. Okay. And then I have this. So I'm going to make this a quick study, right? This doesn't have to be all perfect, but yeah. Okay. So I've taken a lot of time in getting my drawing just right. And okay. And I want to see like a cast shadow kind of down here. Kind of like that. All right. Let's see. I might, well, before I do this, actually, I want to make sure that all the lines that I'm not going to use, my guidelines are gone. Because if they're not, and I paint, they're going to be part of the painting. And really what I should be doing is just not rubbing my paper. But I don't have my little broom, little handheld, because every time I do that, the pencil is smudging on the paper. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. All right. So neutral grays. I'm going to make some neutral grays for my bowl. That's the lightest area, I think. And let's see. So like that's got a color. Remember, we're going to look at the neutral grays. We're going to look at like what complementary colors can we use to paint those neutral grays. And let's see here. I'm actually gonna, you can see my paint. I'm actually gonna go and grab my spray bottle really quick so I can just. So everything is spray bottle. Yeah, that's my quick way of doing that. And then, no, I think, yeah. Now it looks like there's like blues over here. It's more like a bluish purple. Like this seems more like warm to me, more of an orangey gray color in there. And this one feels more brown to me, or maybe a little bit more purple. I know it's going to look different on the camera than it does what I see. And when I'm looking on the camera, it actually looks more purple. So I'm going to mix up some neutral, and I'm just putting it in all my dirty palette here. Purple, because there's some yellow in there. Yeah. I'm gonna put this pen right here so that this is not falling down. And that's too brownish, so I want that to be a little bit more purple. And all right. Now the trick when I'm putting in this wash is I want it to stay wet. So I'm adding a lot, I'm creating a large volume of paint. And paint that in. There's a lot. I want this to be really, really wet because I want to be able to keep it wet so that I can maneuver the paint around a little bit more. I don't want to add any more water necessarily, but I can add more color to it. And I might add a little bit. Let's like come in here with some blue. Oh, that's crazy. But there's some orange on my palette, so when I mix it up with this blue and this, that's going to be a really interesting color. It's not the color that I anticipated, but that's okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to that. And I'm gonna do, remember with your washes, you can make them a little bit more colorful, right? That's really colorful. Maybe add a little bit more water to that. And it's always gonna dry dark or lighter, right? So I'm gonna come in there and just touch in the purple with some of that blue. And I'm gonna pull it. And you see I'm omitting around. I know that's not as, this is a lot darker than I want it to be, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep it wet. I'm adding more, I'm loading it with more water because I don't want it to dry. And I'm going to come in here and make that dark. This is really, really dark. It's a little darker than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. And now I'm gonna come in and just take some of this brown and I'm gonna just move it in here. Actually, I want a little bit more water and okay. And then it's getting like really, really dark down here. So I'm gonna just drop in some, let's see, I'll drop in some of this color here. And maybe a little bit of blue or purple. I'm just going right into my palette and taking that. Okay, and then I'm gonna just add some like, I don't actually want that there. I don't want that there. It's gonna be a lot lighter. So I'm gonna pull that. And now what I'm gonna do is I want this to kind of be softer. So I'm gonna take my brush that's wet and I'm gonna now all that edges is dry, but I'm gonna smooth it out So I got a little bit of a dry edge there. Okay.
Did you have water on that brush?
Yeah, there was just water, a very little bit of water. It was a wet brush. It was a damp brush. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift up, practice some lifting up here. And I'm just gonna see what happens. So, lifting up here, but you know, I'm trying to create interest in my bowl here. And I might pull some of that green. It gets really dark in here. So I'm actually gonna take some of this and just leave it in there. Maybe a little bit of purple too. Let's see what happens. So that's gonna be really dark later. And I can kind of keep that dark too. All right, and I see that I have like a highlight that I didn't reserve. So I'm just gonna try and lift it up here. Just, you know, this thing, and then there's like a little bit of a shape over here that has a highlight. And gosh, you know what? There is a tiny little highlight like right in here. I'm just gonna lift up, and it is what it is, right? I'm just trying to get that feeling of some highlights and stuff. Okay, now that's gonna be very interesting, the way that's gonna dry. I don't know if that's gonna dry. I'm gonna pull that out a little bit more. And this. Okay, so now I have the bottom of this bowl. So you can see there's like a lot of color in my neutral gray. And I'm even gonna soften this edge up a little bit. This is a damp brush. Okay, but I want some of that. I probably didn't need to do that. Alrighty, I lost my edge. I should have kept that white, but I didn't. Oh well. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the bottom part of the bowl. And looks it's like kind of like a mix of these colors, both these colors. So I'm just gonna go right up there. And this is really more of just a gray. It's not tending towards one color. Maybe it's a little bit green. I don't know. Okay, and then I'm gonna wet my brush and just damp it. And now I'm gonna pull that all the way across. And then I'm gonna dry it, and I'm gonna kind of like lift up on the edge there. And that's gonna do some kind of transition there. We'll see. All right. And then I've got some shadow down here, but you know what? I have to wait for this to dry before I touch any of this. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just going to play with the outside. Like, oops. I can make this whatever color I want. My tablecloth or my placemat. And I'll choose blue. Okay. So I'm gonna, let's see, what color should I use? No, let me do more of a phthalo. Yeah, I think maybe I'll do like a phthalo blue. That's gonna be really fun. Okay. That's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But if I'm going for bold, then that's okay. And do I have enough paint here? Probably not. I need more water. I need more of a volume of paint here, but I want to just make sure that my edge of my bowl is crisp. And then because I want this to be expressive, I can kind of play with that over there. Gonna get a little bit more color, more blue. And I'm gonna let me make it more darker over here. And I'm gonna pull this one. And I know this is going to be actually a little bit lighter because the light is coming from over there. So I'm going to actually wet my brush. And this is a stain color. It is not a sediment color. So once it's on the paper, once it's on the paper, it's there. It's not really going to lift up. And I kind of have a shadow shape here. This is already dry. That's going to spread a little bit. That's going to be nice. And I could even play around with adding a little bit of color in there, like a little bit of some purple, just to get some variance in there. And I'm not adding water. I'm just adding paint. And I think I need to pull that up a little bit more to the top. And maybe just push that. I don't want to manipulate it too much, but I feel like I need to move that around a little bit. And then maybe soften that up a little bit. And maybe I'm going to soften that edge a little bit because I want that to be a little bit softer. So I'm going to use a wet brush. It's damp. And I'm just hugging the edge of that, so it's going to spread. But it's also going to kind of spread on top of this other area. So, all right, so that's softer. I could probably do the same thing for the other side. I'm doing all this while I'm waiting for the stuff up here to dry. All right, so you know what else I can do though? I can be playful and expressive. And get my my mixed media out, right? So I have these colors. I don't know what this is going to look like when I paint, when I add these two. I'm just going to get a scratch piece of paper out. I don't know what this is going to look like when I add this to the blue. So I don't know what this color looks like, but this kind of has the same, it's like literally looks like the same thing. So if I wanted to create some texture, I might want to create the texture of the table cloth and maybe like the linear aspect that I'm doing here. So I might just oops. And what I'm doing is I'm just getting the direction of the tablecloth, the placemat mat, like the, what's it called? The grooves of it. And I'm trying to create that feeling of depth by making the lines kind of go back in space. Okay, and I might want to do that in the shadow, maybe. I don't know. Let's try some purple. Let's see what happens. Okay, so that's kind of fun. All right. Let's see. I might want to play around with using this color. This color red. Let's see. What will happen if I use this medium and then I add water to it? Because this is a water soluble, right? And adding water to it is going to do this nice fun thing. But I don't know if that's something that I want. Might be something that I can play around with the leaves, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So
Larissa, what is that watercolor crayon?
yeah, these are Caran d'Ache Neocolor water soluble crayons.
Mm.
Right, so color them like crayons, and then you can also wet them after the fact. All right, so this area is mostly dry. There's some wetness happening in this little corner here, but so that looks like an area that I can kind of focus on maybe, and while I'm waiting for all this junk to dry here. So I'm gonna play around with the leaves, and I know that I want that to be more yellow, and I'm gonna use that green that I had before, but I'm gonna lay in my wash, or like a wash first with the yellow. And I'm gonna make sure that's really, really wet. And then I'm gonna do some green bits and pieces in there. And this is because I don't want to take the time to paint every individual leaf. This is gonna bleed in there, and that's okay. I know that's gonna bleed. Now I'm gonna take some of this blue, this blue here. Let me see here. I'm gonna take the phthalo blue. And I know that's gonna be really bright, but that's okay. I'm gonna play around with the intensity of it and see what happens. And I'm gonna leave some of it.
Larissa, what's the brand of the crayons?
Those are Caran d'Ache.
I have Neocolor Caran d'Ache, but they say they're water-soluble wax pastels. That's not the same thing?
Yeah, no, same thing. Wax pastels.
Oh, okay.
I've been calling them crayons. Huh, look at that. They're wax pastels. What do you know? All right, so I'm getting some bleeding over here, but I'm okay with that because I want it to feel like a little loosey-goosey and expressive. All right, and that is what it is. All right, and then I can just take this blue and yellow and kind of paint that. I might actually go in and do some layering on top of that because I think that might be fun. Okay. And I'm just going to come in and get some yellow. And this is just straight up now. This is straight up green. And I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave a little bit of white there, even though I know it's not really white. Oh, this is like really taking off over here. So that's fun. All right. And then I got this little area of leaves. And now this one I might do a little bit more careful. And this one is a little bit darker. So, but I'm also leaving a little bit of a halo between. Okay. Thanks, Janet. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a halo there. Okay. So I'm gonna let this dry because I can't do my strawberries until all that other stuff dries. So while I'm letting that dry, we're gonna go into the discussion. And we'll take a look at your work, and then if there's still time, I'll come back and finish this. But I'm going to pause the recording now, and I'll come back. And if I don't have time for this in class, I'll finish this and finish the recording later.
Larissa, just one question before you move on. What is
Yeah.
the brand of your paint set?
It's Winsor Newton.
Okay.
Ooh. What? Yeah. Why is it not? There it is. Winsor Newton. Okay. That is really taken off there. I think I'm gonna stop that from happening. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna let it be. It is what it is. It's color study. Okay. Okay. There you go. I've got some red here. Let me spotlight my. Okay, I got my red colors here. Got my paintbrush here, clean water. Okay. I'd mentioned about like wanting to use the ink real quick, so I'm gonna like just play around with the expressiveness of the ink, like on the bowl. Oh, it's just be better if a pen actually worked. Okay, so I have a brand new pen over here. I'm gonna open this up. And here you go. Okay, so by the way, if you're wondering what this is a Sakura pen. I got it at Daiso. Or no, it's a zebra pen. You see that? There we go. It's a zebra pen. I got it at Daiso. And typically these pens are, let's see, waterproof. So if I go over that with the water, yeah, and it's got a little, it's doing a little something. It's getting a little weird, but it's got a thick, thin kind of thing happening with it. So I'm gonna get in here with my line, and I know that I'm following my pencil line and not the paint. So there's going to be a little bit of a halo between the blue paint and the white, and that's okay because I want it to be more expressive. I'm rotating my paper so I can use the natural arch of my hand, which is curving. My natural arch curves this way. So I know that, so I'm not going to try and curve this way because this kind of movement is not natural, but this is. So I'm going to rotate my canvas so that I can get that. And then I know that I ruined, not ruined, but my blue and green over there really kind of got away from me. So I'm going to just define this and real loosey-goosey kind of thing. And probably, yeah, I'm gonna hit the interior edge of that too, but maybe not just yet. And I might just use a pen on the strawberry part after I painted it instead of before. So we'll see that. All right, now it's time for me to mess around with this strawberry. Like I've never painted a strawberry before, so I'm kind of perplexed, but I'm thinking my lightest color is going to be like a yellow red. So I'm going to take this yellow right here, and I might just do one at a time just because I don't know. And paint. And let's see here. I know that there's like a highlight over here, and there's going to be some highlights there. I'm just going to kind of try to get that in there. It gets a little bit more yellow and warm over here, so I'm going to add some of that yellow and warmish parts here. And I am just randomly leaving red space or white spaces here for the highlights. There's not any rhyme or reason to it, but I'm trying to create that feeling of the highlights on the between the seeds. And then I know that it's going to get darker down here, so I'm going to come in here with my like alizarin crimson. And this is all wet into wet. And it's going to get really deep down here. So I'm going to take some of this and just straight up alizarin crimson right there. Oh, that's kind of fun. I have to be really careful with this edge here. And maybe I'll take a little bit of this blue. Ooh, yeah, I'm going to take some of this blue and drop it in the red because that's going to give me this purple, right? And that looks cool. Not as bad as I thought it would. Okay, and I'm going to come in here with a little bit of the blue up at the top to make that a little bit more darker, maybe a little bit more blue on this side here to get that more of a shadow thing there. Okay, great. And right. Okay, so if I want there to be a hard edge between this strawberry and that strawberry, so I can't really do that. But you know what I could do? I could probably do this one here and then glaze the shadow back in later. Well, I don't know. We'll try it. We'll see what happens. And this is part of the whole discovery process, right? So I'm gonna use some red and yellow here. And maybe I'll just, oh, they're touching. I'm just gonna halo it a little bit and see what happens. And if I halo it, meaning I'm leaving some space between, like a little border of space between that, then that's gonna be my aesthetic for this particular one, right? I'm using CAD red. We get in between these areas here. It's just really, okay. This is just straight up CAD red. And I'm gonna actually make this a little bit more like that. And I don't have any highlights on that one, which is okay. All right, and I'm gonna pull some alizarin crimson in here. Make it even darker. It's gonna be even darker up there, and I probably should just pull some straight up blue and put that in there. Maybe some of this phthalo. Well, let's try the phthalo. The phthalo is gonna make it really dark. Yeah, it is, and I'm gonna put a little bit of phthalo under here by the leaves. Maybe it's a little too dark. It's a little too dark, but so I'm gonna wash off my brush and I'm just gonna pull a little bit more of this CAD red. So that kind of pushes it back in, and I'm actually gonna get some yellow. You know, the lemon yellow might not make any sense. I'm gonna try it anyway, the CAD yellow. That's gonna, there's just a lot of paint in there. And that's gonna push it around and everything, and we'll see how that works. So there's interesting things happening in here with the color. I think that's really fun the way that's working out. I'd have to like come in later with the seeds to do that. I think maybe I'll just go ahead. I got like 1 minute. All right, so I'm just gonna do like this other strawberry over here, and I'm just gonna do this all alizarin crimson. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a, I know we've got like 1 minute. I'm gonna leave a little bit of a space there, and then I'm gonna leave a highlight. Got to be really careful with this. Uh-oh, oh well, we did it. And okay, here, and then instead, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna drop some yellow instead. I know that's like more of a, like a lighter color, but I'm just gonna drop the yellow in here and see what happens. Lemon yellow, and that's gonna make it a little bit lighter. Maybe not as light as I want it to be. It's gonna warm it up. And now I'm just lifting up on that paint. Okay. And so I'm gonna have to wait for that to dry. And then I add some other things, and I can kind of come in here with the, I'm not gonna hit that all completely, but I can be really careful with my ink line. Like I'm not going to draw it all in. Maybe I'm just real expressive and the placement of the line in some of these places. Okay, and then maybe I can add some of that texture back here. So remember, this advanced students, like this is a time for discovery and exploration, and through trial and effort with painting quantities of food that you're eating, learning how to take photos of your work, learning how to take photos of still lifes, and then making paintings of it, and then just playing and discovering different ways of painting that you would not have necessarily done before. And the idea is to mix your mediums. Okay, questions? None. Okay, wonderful.